What's up, everyone? I am Kimmy Chex. I'm joined with Marcus Grant and Adam Rank. The all-decade team list just got released, and I want to talk through some of these running backs. Now, we have Frank Gore, Shady McCoy, Marshawn Lynch, and Adrian Peterson. Marcus, it would not be us if we were not chatting fantasy football. I want to start with you. Who is your all-decade fantasy running back?
I'm going to go Lesean Mccoy here. And I know that I think people sort of, hopefully you don't remember or you don't hold the last two seasons against him, right? Last year in Kansas City was a lost year. The year before in Buffalo, he didn't really give you much, but that shouldn't erase what he did for the better part of a decade with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, this is a guy who for 8 straight years was over 1,100 scrimmage yards. I mean, he had 1 year of 2,100 scrimmage yards. He gave you 1 season with 20 touchdowns. He was the guy that made that Eagles offense go, and he was a guy that was a lock to be a top 3 pick in most fantasy leagues for a long part of the 2010s decade. So, the last 2 seasons notwithstanding, Lesean McCoy had an amazing run as one of the top fantasy football running backs. So he's the guy who gets my vote.
All right, Rank, what about you? Have any of these guys that were named to the all-decade team won you a fantasy championship, therefore solidifying themselves as a all-decade fantasy running back?
Yeah, this is very selfish for me because I am going to pick Adrian Peterson because, like Marcus said, when you talk about these running backs, you're going to be, well, forget about the year that he got hurt or this happened because nobody is playing all 10 seasons like Walter Payton. That kind of stuff is not going to happen anymore. So the careers for the running backs are a little bit shorter, but I think of Adrian Peterson twice, led the NFL in rushing during the decade, including 2012 when he had 2,097 yards and 12 touchdowns. So again, these things can be very personal. And so when it's something in a situation like that, I had Adrian Peterson in 2012. It was a laugh. The rest of my team was garbage. But Adrian Peterson, week in and week out, he was averaging well over 100 rushing yards every game. And that was before the proliferation of PPR leagues. So his non-pass, I'm trying to put this the most politically correct way, but his inability to catch the football in the air or whatever it was. So, back in the day, when all of us boomers were playing standard leagues, Adrian Peterson was the truth. Although I did consider guys like Chris Johnson, Arian Foster. There's been some great ones, but I think consistently it's McCoy. But of course, I'll take Adrian Peterson.
Even your pal Matt Forte, I think, deserves a nod in this.
He's in it, yeah. He's split the decades, though. That's problem.
True. All right, now speaking of decades, let's have a little look into the future. I want to pose this question for the two of you. Looking ahead to the 2020s, who do you think would be the number 1 pick to make the all-decade running back team for the 2020s? Rank, let's start with you.
Well, we'll be starting from this season. So whatever happened last year doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. I think that given the opportunity with the new coaching staff, with Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator, at least for 1 season, that he's going to come out and really fulfill the promise that we've seen out of him, which is one of the reasons why the Giants used a really early pick on them, even though nobody in the NFL does that anymore. So I think that if we're lucky enough to still be doing this in 2030, I'll be like, yeah, I told you guys, Saquon Barkley.
All right, Marcus, what about you?
I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. And last year, I waved the flag for him as the number 1 overall pick, and he rewarded me greatly with what his production was. And yes, like Rank said, what happened last year doesn't necessarily count, but I think you look at him and he's sort of the standard bearer for what people expect out of running backs, guys who can not only run the ball effectively, but who are deadly catching it out of the backfield. And we've seen him, with 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, setting the record for most receptions by a running back in a season. And I think that's going to sort of be how he operates going forward. I think that, he will continue to be the centerpiece of the Carolina offense. He's going to be a guy that is going to be considered among the top elite running backs in this league for a long time to come. So I think Saquon's a great pick. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be right there with him.
All right. Well, thank you guys, both Marcus and Adam, for joining us. And for all of our viewers out there, we definitely have a lot to look forward to in the 2020s, as well as this upcoming fantasy season. But if you want to take a look at the all-decade team and the complete list, just head to NFL.com/all-decade team. We will see you guys next time.